Hello, and welcome to our final episode of Pandemic Playhouse. My name is Cantor Judy Sofer. I'm the coordinator of the Cultural Arts Program here at the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys. And we are so happy to be presenting these 3 short plays for you today. We've been working so hard to keep our friends, our actors, our participants, our wonderful, wonderful volunteers on stage, online this past year through the pandemic. And they have done an amazing job, starting with Joseph, with Studio System, with many things that we've done. We did the Holocaust program in April, and this is our second Pandemic Playhouse, and we think it's really fun. So I hope you have a great time. I want to thank all the people that put this together, all of these wonderful volunteers. And I want you to know that we will be back in person performing on stage the first 2 weeks in October in Porticos on Washington Boulevard in Pasadena. It will be a great comedy, and keep a lookout for tickets and come and see us then. And I hope you enjoy the show. Take care.
Hi guys, Richard, David. I always loved your work, and I'm thrilled that you've auditioned for our production. Now we're going to have you all in the audition space at the same time. We'll start with the to be or not to be speech and go from there. We're only waiting on one more person. He shouldn't be too long.
Fine.
Once again, thanks. And it's going to be really tough. It really is. You all bring so much to the part. Okay, I'll just leave you to yourselves.
What did she mean, leave us to ourselves?
She's an idiot.
You know who this other guy is, don't you?
No idea.
A certain leading man in a well-known medical drama?
You are kidding me.
Oh, no, that's what I'm hearing.
But he can't act. Certainly not Shakespeare, and definitely not the Dane. He couldn't have got through to the final audition stage, surely.
Well, I'm just telling you what I've heard.
Nonsense. The way actors gossip is pathetic. It's just small people confined to small parts wanting to upset us.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm
telling you, you could see right down her top. It was distracting, to say the least. Well, I'm here now, so I gotta let you go. Call me in about 2 hours and we'll do lunch. No, not that place. The service is horrible. Okay, see ya. Good morning. Final auditions for Hamlet?
Yes.
Great. I'm not too late then. I'm Sebastian, but call me Seb.
Richard.
Dick?
Richard.
David.
Dave?
David.
Well, anyway, it's great to finally meet you guys. I am among theater royalty here, I can see that. Where's the director?
Well, she told us to wait here. She asked us to wait here. I'm sure she'll be back soon. We are waiting for you.
Sorry about that. Just came from an early meeting with my agent. Big budget Hollywood project in the works. Big name director, big name star, big breasted actress. But I can't say anything about it just yet. Anyway, that's not till next year, so this will be good filler.
Filler?
If I get the role. I'm up against it with you guys. Dave.
David.
David. Just let me tell you, you were great in Charles III.
Pardon?
I think you meant Richard III.
Yeah, the third something.
There's never been a Charles III of England on the page or anywhere else.
Nerves. I always get nervous before an audition. Right. Telephone off. Don't you hate it when your agent calls just before you do an audition?
Oh, yes, it's really awful.
He probably wants to call me back about that big budget Hollywood production. You wouldn't believe who they've got attached.
You're right. We wouldn't believe it.
Sebastian.
Seb.
Have you ever done Shakespeare before?
In school, I played Romeo. Or was it Juliet? I can't remember. I went to an all-boys school and we had to improvise. Compromise is probably a better word.
So you think you have the maturity to play the Dane?
The who?
The Dane. The Prince of Denmark.
I thought I was playing Hamlet.
Oh, dear God.
Hamlet is the Prince of Denmark.
Good. For a minute there, I thought I was auditioning for 2 parts. Now, speech.
You mean you haven't memorized the speech yet?
Well, yes, but I like to go over my lines before the audition. It helps settle my nerves. You wouldn't believe the nerves you get auditioning for big budget Hollywood productions, especially opposite big-named actors.
Not to mention the big-breasted actresses.
Exactly. You know what I'm talking about. It's very distracting. God, look at this gibberish. Why do characters go on and on like this? I mean, who stands around and speaks for an entire page? A whole page. People without friends, that's who. Or no real friends.
It's a famous speech.
It's when Hamlet contemplates living or dying. Where's the pros and cons?
Yeah, he was a bit of a sad old bugger, wasn't he? But some of this language is baffling, though. I mean, look at this example. And the spurns, that patient merit of the unworthy takes. What's all that about? And then it goes on. When he himself might his coitus make with a bare bodkin. What the hell is a bare bodkin?
Oh, it's a pointy stick thing.
Well, why doesn't he just say that?
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just plug that in, all right? And the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy takes when he himself might his quietus make with a pointy stick thing. I really think that sounds better.
At least the audience will know what you're talking about.
I've got that covered. I'm making use of a prop. See? This is my bare bodkin.
Great idea. Can I borrow your bare bodkin?
No, you get your own bare bodkin.
I might as well lend it to him, Richard. I don't think it'll make much difference either way. I've got a bad feeling about this.
A bad feeling about what?
I can't believe all the lines I have to remember. It's daunting.
Well, why are you doing Shakespeare?
You have to do Shakespeare. I need acting credibility. That's what gets you parts in big budget Hollywood productions. And nothing says acting credibility like Shakespeare. I just wish it wasn't so difficult to remember all these lines.
Well, why don't you fudge them?
Fudge them?
Yeah, fudge them.
You can fudge them?
Let me tell you a little about your average Shakespeare audience. 1/4 of them are drunk, 1/4 of them are asleep, and 1/4 of them have been dragged to the theater by somebody else and therefore have absolutely no interest in what's going on. And of the remaining 1/4, half of them aren't paying attention at the time of the fudge. And out of the remainder, there may be 1 or 2 who actually know the speech well enough to realize you're fudging. And that's if you're unlucky.
Yeah, mostly the fudger gets away with it clean.
Why do people go to a Shakespearean play if they're not going to pay attention?
Same reason you want to act in Shakespeare. It's Shakespeare.
But don't the critics know?
Who reads the critics in the papers?
Who reads the papers?
This is all very interesting. You see, that's why I like to meet veterans such as yourselves. I learn so much.
Veterans?
Yeah, the director said she was looking for someone a younger Hamlet for this production. But she may have to change her mind after seeing you guys perform.
And when were you talking to the director?
Last week we had coffee.
You had coffee?
Yeah, coffee.
I never get coffee. Do you get coffee?
Told you I had a bad feeling about this.
Oh, is Seb here yet? Oh, there you are.
And I was almost on time. I've been getting some great tips from old Dick and Dave here.
Richard.
David.
Sorry, I'm not used to theater royalty. Nerves.
Well, step through, guys. It's all set up for you.
Great.
Does he always go out of his way to be obnoxious, or does it just come natural to him?
Hey, hold up a minute. We don't stand a chance, do we? You're going to offer Sebastian the part, no matter what.
I totally reject that. Look, I've known both of you for a long time, and I have to say that I am absolutely insulted by that accusation.
Oh, quit the dramatics. We're the actors. You've all but given him the part, haven't you?
Well, yes.
Why? He's awful. Have you seen him in that well-known medical drama?
I don't know what's more wooden, him or the sets.
He's a name to put on the playbills. This is economic reality. Look, all he has to do is stand on stage and recite his lines melodramatically. It's Shakespeare, for God's sakes. It's not proper acting.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
The critics will eat you alive.
Who reads the papers?
People read the papers.
People who don't go out read the papers. Now, I hope you two haven't been teaching him any bad old actors' habits, like, how to fudge his lines.
Oh, good grief, woman. And what do you mean, old?
I have to say that insinuation is a direct assault on not only our professionalism, but on our...
Oh, give it a rest, David.
Well, I guess we should just go home then.
No. I want you to go into the audition. Make him feel like he won the part. It'll boost his confidence.
Have you taken a knock on your head?
Do you know how humiliating that is?
Well, I can find you other roles.
Yeah, like what?
Well, here we still need a gentleman and a priest.
Oh, please.
Well, we also need 2 clowns, but I wasn't going to insult you by offering you those parts.
Oh, how thoughtful of you. Let's leave, David. So long as you've still got some dignity to leave with.
I'll buy you lunch after the audition.
If you think we can be bribed by...
Oh, at a really nice place. Yes?
A very nice place?
Oh, yes. 5 stars. And a bottle of wine?
Each.
Each?
Oh, our hopes and dreams have been shattered. We may never again get a chance to play the Dane.
Okay. A bottle each.
Done.
What's keeping you guys so long? Hey, when I get to that Bear Bodkin part, can I fudge those lines?
You two have just lost a star on that restaurant. Come through, everyone, and there will be no fudging. Well, at least not on opening night.
Ah, so you do care about the critics.
May I help you?
Yes. I have an interview with a Mrs. Smiles at 11:30.
Yes. Won't you please sit down in the booth over there until your name is called?
Over there?
Yes, right over there. Mr.
Carmichael?
Yes. Please sit down. I see you went to school in...
Arizona.
How did you like it there?
Oh, it was nice, especially the sun. It was always sunny.
I imagine it still is. My husband lives out there and he just loves it. Tell me, why did you move to...
New York? I don't know. I've always wanted to come here, and I had the chance after graduation, so I came. To see what it's like, I suppose.
Yes. Well, how do you like it now that you've been here for a while?
It's not too bad. I expected to get mugged as soon as I stepped off the plane, but I wasn't. And now I feel pretty much at home.
And now you're looking for...
Work, yes.
Yes. Well, that's fine. He'll get over that soon enough. Oh, you certainly did a nice job in school, so there's no problem there. I noticed you majored in...
Sociology.
This is a very large company, as you know, and it uses people from all sorts of backgrounds, from PhDs to sociology majors and high school dropouts. So we should be able to fit you in somewhere.
I hope so.
Well, now before we can go any further, you'll have to take a series of short tests. They're very simple, really, and you shouldn't have any problem. Would you please take a seat in the booth until your name is called?
Sure.
Mr.
Carmichael?
This is our testing booth. All of the test booklets, along with the pencils, are inside the booth. The instructions are all on a recording. You'll hear them through a speaker in the booth. Don't do anything until the recording tells you to. These are all timed tests, so just press the button on the right-hand side of the booth when you begin each test in order to start the recording and the timer. All right? Is everything clear?
Yes, I think so. How long do these tests take anyway?
Not long. They're very short tests, and in your case, just a formality. Okay? Just bring them to me when you're finished.
All right. Thank you. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yes?
Yes, I'm supposed to be taking some tests in that booth over there, but the recording doesn't seem to be working.
How isn't it working?
Well, there just isn't any sound.
Did you press the button on the right?
Oh, no. I was told to do that after the instructions had been given.
Just go press the button on the right.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yes?
I'm afraid the recording still isn't working.
You pressed the button.
Yes.
Well, let's see. Are you supposed to be doing this?
Yes, I'm sure.
Sit down then. Something's wrong somewhere. No wonder. Why didn't you tell me the recording wasn't on?
I didn't know.
How's everything going?
Just fine now. We had a little problem with the recording.
Oh, really?
This is test number 1, marked A on your booklet, word meaning. Please listen carefully. On the left-hand side of the page, you will see a column of words. To the right of each word is a list of 10 different words. You are to cross out all of those words except for the one which is most unlike or opposite to the word in the first column. Sample problem. The first word is survival. Which of the following words is the most unlike or opposite to survival? A, fat, B, dumb, C, blonde, D, cornucopia, E, trample, F, mother, G, matriculate, H, puberty, I, ignorance, J, extinction. The correct answer is J, extinction. Stop. Your time is up. Please go to test number 2, marked B on your booklet, number identification.
Beside each pair of the following 10-digit numbers, you are to mark S if both numbers are the same, or D if they are different. Sample problem. Are the following two numbers the same or different?
Excuse me.
Yes.
There seems to be some problem with the recording again.
Did you press the button?
Yes, I pressed the button.
What's the problem?
The problem is the recording tells you to stop as soon as it's told you to begin. It doesn't even leave time for the test.
Something's wrong.
Yes, I know.
You've already started this test, haven't you?
Only after the instructions have been given. I only had...
Now you're ahead of the recording. You should never get ahead of the recording.
But I didn't know.
Is something the matter? Why aren't you taking the test?
The recording isn't working right. It didn't leave any time for the test before it goes on to the next test.
You've gotten ahead of the recording.
No. Well, there really isn't any sense in you continuing, Mr.
Carmichael.
Yes, you've obviously gotten ahead of the recording. And this isn't even the right test.
I'm sorry, but the test got ahead of me. I waited for the instructions, I pressed the button, and it didn't give me a chance. I'm sure it's just a mechanical error somewhere.
A mechanical error?
Yes, I'm sure it can be easily fixed.
I'm afraid that isn't the point. You've gotten ahead of the recording, Mr.
Carmichael.
And you should never get ahead of the recording.
All right, okay, so what do you want me to do?
Well, I'm afraid we don't have any openings for you right now, but we'll keep your name on file.
You mean that's it?
As I said, we'll keep your name on file.
Uh-huh. I see.
I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do. We simply have no openings.
Well, I guess there isn't any sense in wasting more of my time, is there? Goodbye.
Goodbye. Please send in the next candidate.
Do we remember our parents or their parents as they actually were? Or do we create their memories to suit our own needs, to help us make sense of stuff? I mean, when I remember, am I recreating the people and events of my life as they actually were, or am I creating something entirely new? Or is it a bit of both? In a few minutes, I'm going to light this up. Now, you may not care for the smell of a cigar, and I can sympathize, but in this case, I think the end, no pun intended, justifies the means. See, psychologists tell us that smell is our most powerful sense in relation to memory. The smell of something can evoke memories and emotions much more potently than the sight or the sound or the touch of it. Psychologists also talk to us about cigars. Freud, who was a lifelong cigar smoker, once said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. An actor once told me how to create actual emotions while on stage. This is what he told me. On stage, he said, your lover walks out on you. The script calls for you to burst into tears. Now, in real life, when your lover walks out, you don't burst into tears. You may go to the fridge, make yourself a salami sandwich, sit down to eat it. And then halfway through the sandwich, you realize your lover is gone. And then you burst into tears. So on stage, when your lover walks out and the script tells you to cry, you draw in a breath, you recreate the smell of salami, and you cry. You know, one day, a few years ago, I was walking past a tobacco shop. I walk past that shop every day on my way to work. And I don't smoke or on that day, a few years ago at least, I didn't smoke. I had absolutely no reason to go into that shop, but on that day, that's exactly what I did. So there I am, standing in this tobacco shop, and this woman behind the counter says, "Can I help you?" I paused for a moment because I really had no idea what I was doing there. Then I asked her to sell me a cigar. Now, I'm an impulsive guy, but that was weird even for me. Anyway, she sent me to the humidor room and back where they store thousands of cigars from all over the world. There was an old guy in there, and I told him I'd never smoked a cigar before, and I asked him to sell me one. "This is a good one to start with," he said, and I paid him $2 for a Julia Marlowe, hand-rolled in the Dominican Republic. "Do you want me to clip the end?" he asked. "Well, I'm sure," I said, not knowing exactly what he meant. Boy's first cigar. Well, what in the world was I going to tell my wife? That it just followed me home? Well, I told her that I had a confession to make. "What have you done?" she asked. I took the cigar out of my pocket and I showed it to her. She looked down at it, looked up at me, looked back at it. "If you smoke that in the house," she said, "I'm going to kill you. And then I'm going to divorce you." Well, I took my pet cigar out onto the front porch. It was a breezy summer evening. I didn't know what to expect. Couldn't imagine the allure of puffing on a cigar. What could the appeal be? Well, I lit it up and took a puff. I held the smoke in my mouth for a moment, and then I puffed it back out into the summer air. And the smell of the burning leaves overcame me. I was transported. In that moment, as the smoke drifted off into nothingness, my senses were overwhelmed. And suddenly I remembered something. My father had smoked cigars. Now, I have a pretty good memory. No, in fact, I have a damn good memory. When I run into people I knew in high school, maybe I haven't seen them for 20 years, I remember details of their lives, conversations we had. I remember my childhood, my mother and my father, so clearly. They're dead now. My mom in 1990, my father 7 years later. I have an excellent memory, but I didn't remember that my dad smoked cigars until that moment when I lit one up myself, when I tasted the smoke, and there, in a flash, there he was, standing on the boardwalk in Atlantic City, leaning against the railing, relaxed, content, smoking a cigar. He had a way of puckering his lips and letting the smoke drift out ever so gently. Oh, he savored that cigar, and I had no recollection until that moment. That night, it all came back to me. So what else don't I remember about my father? What don't you remember about yours? Was he loving and you won't remember until you yourself love? Was he violent? And you won't remember until you raise your hand against your own kid. I took a second puff, and I tasted the smoke. Rich, sweet. My sense of taste was stimulated, and it's like a fine wine, I realized, like brandy, to be savored. Now, I've seen a number of wine tasting exhibitions, and I know that the judges do not swallow. They taste the wine and spit it out. Well, so too with cigars. The smoke is not to be consumed, not inhaled, but merely exposed to the sensory organs and then released, savored and released, offered up, as it were, like a prayer. My kids came out to the porch to see what Daddy was up to, and they were mesmerized by the sight of me smoking. I let out some little puffs, and then I managed a smoke ring. Oh, my kids chased the rings and tried to put their fingers through them, and O's, they said, Daddy's making smoke O's. Make an S, Sam said. And I remember chasing my dad's smoke rings and watching the smoke drift off into nothingness. I loved chasing my dad's smoke rings and poking my fingers through them. How could I not have remembered that? How will my children remember me? Will they remember chasing my smoke rings? What else don't I remember? Well, with each puff, I drew in the memory of my father, his smell, his pleasures, his breath. And with each puff, I exhaled his life, the life of a salesman, lived on the interstates between sales calls, listening to Frank Sinatra and Tommy Dorsey tapes, and smoking cigars. After my mother died, when I had days off from school, I used to have to drive with him. And I wanted to be back in the neighborhood with my friends, but he didn't want me home alone. I wouldn't let him smoke when I was in the car, and he'd offer to blow the smoke out the window, and I'd offer to stay home with my friends. I'd say, Dad, I'm 12 years old. I'm okay on my own. And he'd say, your friends all have mothers to take care of them. And he'd say, I'm sorry. It was all right. I loved Frank Sinatra, but I hated those cigars. But now I am a cigar smoker. 1 cigar a week, only on Fridays after dinner. Now, I'm not a religious Jew, but somehow this is my way of honoring the Sabbath, of separating it from the other days. It sounds crazy, I know. Why is this night different from all other nights? But maybe it isn't so crazy. I invoke the spirit of my Father. I am the connection between my Father and my children. Maybe spirituality is as mundane as a leaf wrapped in other leaves, clipped at the end and placed in the mouth and ignited. Maybe the simple ritual of tobacco is as spiritually significant as a prayer. Say you pray, but you're not really paying attention while you do it. So there you are, you're talking to God, and if God actually talked back, you wouldn't notice because you weren't paying attention. This may have happened to some of us. Now, what if you're sitting on your porch, enjoying your cigar, very focused and calm, and while you smoke, you contemplate the stars in the sky and the dampness in the air and the mosquitoes buzzing and the wind, invisible, carrying your smoke, swirling off into God knows where. You are content and silent. Your breathing is steady. And you are so tuned in to the stillness of the night, you think that when you exhale that next wisp of smoke, you will dissolve with it into the eternity of the evening. You think that the wind is the breath of God. And as you breathe it in, you draw inspiration. This moment is perfect. It is the Sabbath, the day of rest. The candles are burning. The wine was sweet. The brisket tender. All week long you have toiled, and now the sun is down. Kids are in bed. Your wife is singing softly somewhere in the house. Puffing a cigar on your front porch, exploring your memory, creating your dreams. You know that the soul of your Father is right there beside you. And you are one with the world.